and Jennifer should probably sit here.
And then coordinate, okay.
It is possible to fit 4 chairs up there.
We are gonna,
Yeah, we got 4, yeah, we can do it.
Have you got that one? Okay, great.
Oh, my chair's warm.
Mine is too, mine's hot.
That means they sat here a while. So my chair's warm.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank y'all so much. I'll let whoever decides you're in charge introduce the team and tell us if what is in your budget will allow you to serve the city and if there are other needs that we need to be aware of.
All right, great. Thank you very much for having us. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Jennifer Rasmussen Sagan, Chief of Staff for Mayor John Cooper, and with me today is Deputy Mayor Haywood and Director of Economic and Community Development, Courtney Pogue. In addition to us, we are joined by additional members of the mayor's staff to answer any questions, and Kristen Wilson. I'm proud to be here today on behalf of the mayor's office and represent our staff. I started my employment here to a mostly empty office building due to COVID, a boarded up window with graffiti on it, a rock chip desk, and worked at a relocated office temporarily. All was extremely unique and under unusual times, and I realize I may not have met all of you due to those unusual circumstances. By way of introduction, I joined the staff almost 2 years ago after spending over 14 years in the private sector working in marketing and operations. Prior to that, I worked for the mayor of Omaha as a special assistant and his deputy chief of staff. I spent part of my time focused on a $1 billion riverfront overhaul that included a new College World Series stadium, a convention center and arena, a pedestrian bridge, and oversaw multiple departments including parks, public works, planning, convention and visitors bureau, and the annual budgeting process. When I started here, the mayor had just given his budget address to an empty chamber, and 24 months later at the 2022 State of Metro, we gathered together in person at the Southeast Community Center with an investment budget signaling Nashville's economic rebound. This year was a sigh of relief, I think, for all of us. Inspiring, but also encouraging to move back into a governing mode and focus on the mayor's agenda for neighborhood and families. That includes investment in our children's future through education, safe neighborhoods, affordable housing, addressing homelessness, improving fundamental services and transportation infrastructure, and a greener, most sustainable city. That is our vision for a city that works and works for everyone. Internally, our office is also committed to work for everyone. That is done through collaboration, policy, communications and outreach, customer service, and performance management. Like many of you, we are experiencing challenges in hiring. Nashville has an unprecedented low unemployment rate. We have lost some great staff members to better opportunities, including retirement. Although sad to see them move on, I am encouraged by their experience in our office. However, I also feel very fortunate to have added some great team members to our staff and hope we continue on this trend. Additionally, I'm proud of the continued diversity in our office. Our staff remains over 10% more diverse than the past two administrations. Boards and commissions are also unequivocally increasingly more diversified, and we work hard every day to make those numbers stronger. I look forward to our upcoming work with Andrea Blackman, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, regarding our efforts in the city's strategic vision in this process. Last year, our office launched a participatory budgeting program, the first of its kind in Nashville. Nashville's first year of participatory budgeting saw 500 neighbors bring forward their ideas, voices, inspiration, and votes in the community-driven process. I'm very proud of the work Fabi and Bedney is doing and look forward to the success they have in their second round this year. This year's budget includes a request for mailers to hopefully increase this participation and input even greater. Our outreach further continues into one of our economic drivers in Nashville, the music and film industry. The proposed money budgeted for Music, Film, and Entertainment Office is anticipated to combine with private funds for a staff position and related expenses to better engage and support our music and film industries. From our conversations with music and film industry leaders, there is a consistent desire that the position be elevated to more of a director-level status within the mayor's office, to give it a greater standing within the industry. Our engagement will begin with a retreat of industry professionals this summer. The retreat will jumpstart the revival of the Music City Council into a body that integrates music and film. We look forward to these continued partnerships. A larger part of encompassing everything we do is communications. We do as the communications team. After over a year without a communications director, I'm very excited to have native Nashvilleian TJ Ducklow to join our team. His excitement for Nashville is palpable, and we are working in tandem to build out his team. This includes a press secretary. As you recall, we were fortunate to borrow a press secretary, Andrea Fanta, from the library for some time now. Andrea has gone back to the library, and we are now replacing this position in our budget. If funded, we have an internal candidate we are excited to promote into this position. I will now turn this over to Deputy Mayor Haywood to discuss the additional opportunities we look forward to in the Office of Community Engagement.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I consider it an honor and a pleasure to be here among some of my former colleagues. It's so exciting. I feel right at home here. I want you to know that several very, famous people said that a country will be known by the status of the youth in their particular country. Therefore, I'd like for everyone to know that I'm very excited to share with you more about a request for 2 roles here in the mayor's office that we are seeking. And these roles address 2 topics that, as you know, again, that are very close to my heart. The first one I want to tell you about is our request for a point person to work on youth development and workforce and empowerment, economic opportunities, and many other areas that young people will excel in. This position will help us continue to focus on after-school programs for Nashville's youth. It will also provide future opportunities in the workplace by working close to the business community to find the best path forward to align our workplace development efforts and the local job market so they can come to become commensurate with each other. We're looking for a tandem here. As you are aware, it is very important for us to support equity-based strategies across Metro. And to me, it is particularly important to help our youth for the reasons that we aforementioned. These efforts will be specifically focused on ages 16-24. That's where the need is. And we want you to know that disproportionately, these young people are always left out. Our ECD director will also provide more details about the positions that I am mentioning, and he can tell you all the details, and we're very proud of him and the work that he's doing. I just want to share with you all that I'm very, very, very inspired and excited about the progress that we're making here in the mayor's office when it comes to our youth. The second role I want to share with you and tell you about is the point person for human service, economic opportunity, and community development. This person will be responsible for coordinating and delivery of the human services through collaborative relationships within Metro agencies and among private and state agencies alike. Our most vulnerable need will be to represent the young people, and the relationship with them requires better coordination and engagement. We know that Nashville has vulnerable communities, and we want to address them. We are looking to our own Courtney Poe to make a difference in these areas. We're looking at housing, attainability, workforce challenges for all of our citizens. Also, we're looking at those with disabilities. We're looking at our veterans, our homeless, and we really want to concentrate on those that are with homes, just to name a few. And we know you all, as council members, are very passionate about maybe one or even several of these particular areas, and we look to you to join us in our initiatives that we're very excited about. I have to give a shout out to a young lady. Her name is Lakeisha Harris, and she's working with us, and she has looked at after-school programs, and she's doing a fantastic job, and we're very Oh, I think somebody's waving at Lakeisha. Where are you, Lakeisha? Raise your hand. She's our Fuse Program Director for after-school programs, and we are so proud of her. And at this time, I'd like for our own Courtney Pogue to tell us a little bit more about these positions and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for allowing us to speak to you today.
Good afternoon. My name is Courtney Pogue. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development for Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County. As Jennifer and Deputy Mayor Haywood laid out, we're asking for two positions. These positions being, one is for youth, 16 to 24, which the proper term being opportunity youth. This youth or population here, we know we have a very low unemployment rate for Davidson County. It's about 3%. But as we look at the data points, particularly in North Nashville and Southeast Nashville, we see the unemployment rate for that area being 5 to 6 times the overall unemployment rate for Davidson County, roughly about 16%. So creating a position like this for the youth workforce and empowerment is essential to really address those needs for Davidson County, Metropolitan Nashville. As we look at housing attainability, being the second position in human services, it is critical that we look at all the various programs for housing, both from the public sector and the private sector, but also look at ways of utilizing MDHA and work with Department of Planning and look at other sources we can tap into to address the needs in the housing realm here in Nashville. So in coordinating these efforts, that's why we're looking for these positions and looking for the roles to be fulfilled here to make sure we can address these needs here in Nashville.
Was that not a beautiful job? The way he articulates. Beautiful. Thank you, Courtney. Christian?
I think we can open it up to questions.
Okay.
All right. Are there questions? I see several hands. I will try to do those in order. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. I'm excited that the Economic Opportunity or ECD Department is getting addition and that we are making equity a priority. And I love the fact that youth is one of those. The question that I have is a couple. One, I remember that about a year or two ago, we created two positions that deals with equity. One was housed in the Finance Department, but one was in HR, which was the, I think it was the workforce manager, something like that. What is the difference between that position and this human services position that we're creating in this office, and how do they work together so there's no duplication? You can create as many positions for equity. You won't hear me say no to any of it, but I wanted to make sure that all of it are working in tandem and there's no duplication. The other questions that I have, again, I'm going to go back to what I'm going to be repeating for every department, is the salary savings that I keep seeing showing up in every department, and the mayor's office is no exception. And so looking at your salary budget from 21 to 22 to now what you're asking for in 23, I still see $1 million savings. And so my question is that $1 million due to people leaving at those vacancies that you have in there already, or is that, and I'm gonna ask finance when it gets to finance because it's become a trend that I'm seeing. So if we're not using the budget from last year fully, why are we increasing that budget again this year when we could use those savings to add this other new position? And lastly, the other thing that I also saw was in communication. Our communication expenses is going about 300% increase from about 36,000 this year in FY22 to 116,000 requests. And so again, if somebody will please explain that jump, I will appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to start the answer to those questions since there was so many parts there. The first one, on the equity positions, yes, we have successfully brought in a fantastic Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Andrea Blackman, out of Finance, and I'll allow our Finance Director to speak a little bit further overall to the work that's underway, but I will tell you, we partner very closely on a lot of things related to that work. For example, our Office of Performance Management has been working very closely on equity dashboards, mapping, things like that, to make sure that any data-driven needs that Andrea Blackman and her office have, we're working hand in hand to partner and support them with. The Workforce Diversity Manager is hired in HR. Rogel Jones is excellent, and I think if you have any specific questions about that, I know we've moved to have Shannon Hall come and speak tomorrow evening about the pay plan and some of the questions there, and certainly there's an opportunity, I think, to speak to that. Both of those roles really take a strong look right now at our processes and our approaches that we have internally to the metropolitan government. Very importantly, I think we all acknowledge and recognize that there's opportunities for us to become stronger and to live those values in all sorts of ways. And so both our Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer and her small team that she has, as well as Rogel, and if you look at the HR budget, you'll see we are looking to build out that team under Rogel a little further too. Both of those really are working a lot on making us the model employer that we should be on these fronts. The role that we're looking at, or the two roles we're looking to put underneath ECD in this budget, really at the end of the day, in my mind, have both an internal and an external facing component to them. And so there's a lot of really important work as Courtney and as Deputy Mayor Haywood spoke to, but also in a much more external facing way. Does that help answer that question?
It does. So one is more internally focused, and then this one is our work.
This one is going to be a lot of coordination, that impacts the greater community, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It's just when you hear human services, want to make sure we're not. It's good that we clarify
yes.
that.
And I will say this, all these offices work really nicely together, and that would be our expectation, is that this is just further building out our capability and capacity across all of Metro. The next thing I would say is on the salary savings. I'll let Jennifer speak to that in a little bit more detail as she needs to, but I'd ask you to remember, as I've listened to a lot of these very good questions that you've been asking, Councilmember Suara, that last year, up until March of last year, we had a freeze in place for our operating budget. And I know it's very easy for us to quickly forget that that was occurring, but we didn't lift it until March of 2021. And so you had a number of departments that had essentially fallen into a hole of vacancies, right? Libraries, for example, had 65 to 70 vacancies as we closed out the fiscal year last year, and then went into this very hard hiring environment. They have resources, but now they're in a difficult hiring environment, and they really haven't been able to crawl out of that. And I think there are a lot of contributing factors, but one I didn't want us to lose is that many departments ended up holding vacancies over the course of FY21, over the course of FY20, because of some of the fiscal challenges we had. And those are a reality that we rolled into this past year from a budgeting perspective. So
please use your mic.
Thank you. So if I may follow up and clarify, is my understanding that those vacancies are already built into the budget? So when people say we have vacancies, they really don't need money for it because the money is already in the budget. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that we are all actively recruiting as much as we can for the roles that we need, but that there is some history there that we should all acknowledge, that our departments were not, it's not like we were fully staffed at the end of FY21 and then entered into FY22 with just needing to staff the roles that we had. Every department had vacancies already rolling from the prior year that they needed to work to fill as well. Does that make, this is what I'm saying.
Well, I can follow up later because I know one of the things when we had the difficult time was that we were very sure to say Metro is not cutting, we're keeping all our staff. And so going from that explanation to this one, I would need some more follow-up on that.
I'm more
because
than happy to, and I'll be more than happy to re-pull up the memos that we had distributed at the time that spoke to how we asked all of our departments to essentially hold back on their operating and capital spending in order for us to make sure we were in a good place over the course of FY20 and FY21.
Okay.
Thank you. And if you can send that to Director Darby, then we can put it on the SharePoint for everyone.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
And I would just add, I mean, we do have a few positions open now, but we have been working very hard to fill those, and I anticipate that a couple of them we're looking to fill pretty imminently. One of them we just lost a little bit over a month ago, and we have been working very hard. I mean, I know everyone understands the challenges that everybody's had in terms of hiring. I mean, anybody that's tried to hire anybody in the last couple years, it's been a very challenging time, which is good and bad, right? I mean, it's good to have a very low unemployment rate, as Courtney mentioned, but it also makes it very challenging to find people for positions. We've been very fortunate to hire some great people this past year, but we also still have a couple positions. As Kristen mentioned, we had a hiring freeze and we had some holes in our staff, but we're filling them. And I'm excited about those that we have been able to fill. And we've got, I think, a couple on the hook potentially, pardon the phrase, but I'm excited about those that I think that we are going to be able to hire, and I'm excited about hopefully these new positions that we have. We need them.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnston.
Thank you. How many positions do you have open right now?
We have 5 currently.
How long have those positions been open?
One of them was just vacant just about a month ago. I can't tell you that the speechwriter was one that we, like I mentioned, is I guess I can't speak to it exactly. It's one that we shared with our press secretary that was kind of moved back and forth with Andrea Fanta. I'm trying to.
So Andrea Fanta was both the press secretary and the speechwriter?
Was she filling both roles? No, I guess I would need to research that to give you that exact answer. Boards and commissions we've been holding because that was part of our reduction proposal. The senior advisor for education, I'd need to find out exactly. That was vacated by Robert Fisher. And then the transportation infrastructure, that's been vacant by Faye DeMassimo. I can't tell you exactly how long. February.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused because this list of titles is odd to me. Like for example, Deputy Mayor of Community Engagement, it says, which I'm looking at her, I think, it says FY22 budgeted 0, FY23 budgeted 0. So what is Deputy Mayor Brenda Haywood? What is her title if she's not budgeted this year or last year?
Forgive me, where are you referring to?
I'm on D046, and it has a list of all the budgeted positions. And it was listed for, I'm just confused because, so council liaison development hasn't been, I'm assuming that that's poor Mike, but I think he's also the counselor to the mayor. So I'm just confused by this.
Well, if you're confused, I may be confused also.
And I'm just trying to figure it out because, again, these are some, decently high-paid positions, and we have a recurring theme in these budgets, budget requests that are asking for more FTEs over and above their FY22 allocations, and yet there's a ton of open positions, and there have been for a while. And so what we end up doing is if we allocate those dollars, you're just tying those dollars up where they could be allocated somewhere where we can spend them that will help move the city forward instead of just having these open positions that we've got, X number of dollars for. So when I'm looking through the people that work in the positions anyway, that are listed, and some of them, like Director of Music and Film, that makes sense to me. It has not been budgeted for FY21, 22, but here it is in FY23, and the variance is 1 for this year. That makes sense to me, but there's several things in here that just don't make sense. And so I'm just wondering where all this money's going, to be honest. And I'm not trying to be aggressive. I really am truly trying to figure it out. And it can just be because this budget book is, in a word, wonky and not the most readable.
It is award-winning.
That was your word, Council Lady Allen, and I stole it. So maybe it's just, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out because I really would like.
Might I suggest, would it be possible to have a list of maybe the names that go with the titles, and that would help us understand who's who with that?
Yeah, and I would just say, I mean, I would agree with you. This title, this page here is probably also confusing to me, and I'm happy to go through this and get back to you. I will say those other positions, I mean, we have been working hard to fill those positions and need them. That is what I can say, and I can attest to that. We have been interviewing, we have been looking for them diligently. A couple of them we have offered positions to or offered jobs to, and they've taken positions elsewhere. I mean, again, just like other people throughout the city, we are working hard to hire people.
Yeah, and I get that, and I'm not challenging the efforts that are being made across the board, across departments to try to find people, to work. My question is, if there's job titles in here, and I could ask this of any department, if there's job titles in here that you're holding off on because you feel like, hey, that we've got a priority here, and maybe this money is better used here, why leave that money here, move it over here, and have a net neutral? Does that make sense? Like, just to try to pare it down and make sure that we are not tying up dollars for positions that aren't maybe as important and aren't able to be filled, because we're creating some positions here, right? Am I communicating that properly?
Yes, I guess I need to get back to you on that because I'm not sure that there is any. I don't think that we are holding any dollars back. I know we have 5 FTE positions that we currently are actively looking for. I don't feel like we are holding empty positions or holding job titles necessarily. I can tell you what those 5 positions are and that we are looking for those 5 positions. So I guess I would need to research that a little bit. Again, that I would agree with you, council member, that one page is kind of wonky, and I think that there are classifications that are kind of screwy in there, but I'm happy to research it and get back to you and so that it is very clear.
Yeah, it would be helpful to me.
Absolutely.
To figure out, like, where did the community engagement deputy mayor go? Because I thought I was looking straight at her.
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah,
Same.
so
I feel like I'm sitting right next to her. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so there's probably a lot of things in here, and it would be helpful to get get the title, get the person that attaches to the title.
Absolutely.
So that, because I'm lost, to be honest.
So we'll send that. I'm working my way through the list. Okay, a clarification on this specific point.
Yes, I started the questioning on the personnel savings because I was trying to get to what Councilmember Johnson was trying to get to. But specifically when it comes to the deputy mayor community engagement, I think there's just a change in job class. The position was listed under 07976 the first year in 2021, and you can see that 1 there. But the subsequent year, the position number changed to 11134. So that's why it became 11 thereafter. It's just a change in the class. So you'll see it listed twice. So if you see Deputy Mayor Eng, that's the first job class, and you see the first year, and then the rest of the years are 0. But then if you look up, you will see Deputy Mayor Community Engagement in a different job class. The first year is 0, so you will see all of that. That's what that is.
So 1 is spelled out and 1 is not.
No. When you change position class or you promote someone or you change their classification, then it's listed twice in there. So it's only there each year 1 time, but under 2 different classifications. That's what that is. So there's no confusion in that one, but I still think my question of lining about the personnel savings, I think is something that I've seen across board in every department. That's why I'm looking at it, and I think it's worth all of us going back and addressing what that means. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell. I'm sorry, it was Toombs. Somebody on that left side. Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to say there's a lot of conversation around personnel, and I just want to comment, because of the hiring freeze, a lot of our all of our departments are understaffed. Our understaffed departments became even more understaffed. And so now we're at a time where we can staff up because we have the resources. And so we shouldn't look at, because you have 10 unfilled positions, you don't need 5 more. Because what the department is saying is that we need 15 people to do this work. And so we need to have that money available to hire those 15 people. Unfortunately, we're in a job market where it's difficult to hire people. Yeah. I'm in management with the state, and we have vacancies, and we'll be asking for additional FTEs in the next budget cycle because we need those positions, and we want to be in a position to hire so that we can have enough people to do the work. So it's understandable that even though you have vacancies, you still need additional positions because that's what you need to do the work. My question is, looking at the positions that you've asked for, and I have a couple of sub-questions, is this enough staff? Because what I've seen is that one person will be hired to do a job that really needs 5 people. Right now, Director Pogue is a staff of 1. We talk about the participatory budgeting program. That's a huge undertaking. Fabian is a staff of 1. So are you asking for enough staff to do these jobs? Because community outreach, trying to bring about equity, doing the things that you need to do as an office is a huge undertaking. So are you asking for enough staff to do the work?
Maybe.
In particular, I would like to see, have you considered having an additional staff person to assist with participatory budgeting so it's not just Fabian? Have you considered, Director Pogue mentioned 2 FTEs, and I don't know if that's the youth workforce and empowerment person and the human services person is with ECD? Mm-hmm. Okay. Are those 2 additional people, is that enough to do the work of ECD?
I'm going to just say, having historically sat through now the 3rd budget for the mayor's office, so maybe I can give a little perspective, you can too here, Deputy Mayor Haywood, is no. I think if you looked 33 people in a mayor's office in a strong mayor system in a city of this size is subscale. And I often hear people talk about how it's hard to figure out sometimes how to navigate our office. It's because we're always grabbing whoever we can to do whatever we can when a topic comes up. And so there's a lot of shared work that occurs all over the place because of that subscale. However, we've also made some explicit decisions along the way. Remember, budgets are all these trade-offs, and they're really challenging. And I know you felt that last year when we were working through the FY22 budget. The reality to us is it's much more important for us to also make sure our departments are getting the resources they need and that service delivery is occurring on the street. And so we've made some explicit priorities and trade-offs around making sure neighborhood services are occurring, public safety is occurring, that health has, particularly at this point in time, whether it's in behavioral health or kind of broader health and all policies and equity type of work, that they have the resources they need. And as a result, we have consciously taken a back seat on the prioritization of getting to the right level of staffing. And does that hurt us? Yeah, it hurts our personal lives a lot, I can tell you that. But that's been the rationale I've observed. And I don't know, Jennifer or others, if there's Courtney, you had a specific question. And I know Courtney will speak tomorrow too. He's coming back for more economic development time. So there'll be some more opportunities to speak very specifically.
So I know I will specifically be looking at staff because representing North Nashville and Bordeaux, I know a lot of the source of being under-resourced and not knowing about grants and not knowing about opportunities is because the people who are administering the opportunity are stretched thin. They can't do the messaging and run the program. So I have a big concern about, these equity initiatives being appropriately staffed.
Well, I do appreciate your comments, and I also appreciate the very hard work that the mayor's office staff does. I mean, because to Kristen's point, we do run circles. I mean, the staff jokes about how fast I walk in the office, and I run people over all the time. But it is, we do move fast and furious, and we share jobs, but, you know, we are trying to be fiscally responsible. And that's the balance of what we do. And that's our responsibility, so.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurt.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have the same concerns because when I heard the description of the youth, I was thinking that would be a perfect person to go to juvenile court, since we're talking about outreach when we were just talking about them having someone to work alongside of them to help with the things that they need to do. But you mentioned initially about that you had 10% more diversity. And it seems to me that your retention in the mayor's office has been very, very low. So I'm wondering if you are counting women, white women, black women, brown women, all women in your, because that's like one person for every 10 people that you're talking about if you said that you got 10% more than any other mayor that's been there. And I too wanted to know if with those positions that you have available, if the monies could be reallocated so there could be some more staffing for economic and community development in order to help some of the real issues that we actually have, especially if the money has already been allocated and the positions are vacant. I hear what Councilmember Suarez is saying. If you already have those positions and you're asking for more, then it's in addition to, so it's not 10, but 15, you know. So I'm just wondering if we can reroute that money and reallocate it and put it in a place where we can get so much more cluck out of our buck.
Do it. Councilmember Swope.
Later on, is it possible for you to give me the demographics of the mayor's office and the retention of it over the past couple of years?
Well, we can get that for you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That'd be great. Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. Councilmember Swope.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna have a hard time following cluck for buck. Nashville hot chicken and all, I guess. Thank you all for being here today. Talk to me about this Office of Film and Special Events, or Film and Television Director. Guys, I started a company in this city in 1991, 32 years ago, 31 years ago, in film and television, record label, the whole 9 yards. There's been 7 film and television commissioners through 7 different mayors. Every time a new mayor comes in, we get a new director of film and television. What makes this different? First off. 2, who's hiring this person? Is it a mayoral appointee? Because that means he'll only be here for 2 years or for 6 years tops. And 3, has anybody considered that since this has been done, tried, and failed 7 times over 30 years, that we might place this particular position into somewhere else that will continue on past each single mayor we get into office?
I don't know. Yeah,
I think the admin table has taken that one.
Thank you, Chair Lee Allen and Councilman Swope. So a little over a year ago, we started working with Councilman Syracuse on this very issue, and mindful of the track record that you have laid out, and in discussions between Councilman Syracuse, Ben Eagles, and others in our office, one of the hallmarks of the previous lackluster performances was frankly just not enough industry engagement. I can't recall exactly whose idea it was, but the solution was to, first and foremost, whatever office is created should be formed through the expressions of the industry itself. And our staff and Councilman Syracuse have been working for the past year to create a 40-member committee. And I believe they are meeting shortly. I don't have the exact date. We do know that there is other competing legislation coming forward. I think two things we would ask is that the council work through that. They've had competing legislation in the past and have worked through to a successful unifying version. But also, there has been a lot of work put through in convening this industry committee. And if they can be a vital part of that solution, I think they're ready and we're ready.
Rosie said I was getting feedback, so I'm trying to keep my mics. Oh.
Hello.
Try it now.
Thank you, Counselor. Are you referring to a new Music City Music Council? Okay, I was part of that back in the late 90s as well. We started a group called Film Nashville, which is an industry trade organization. It's been around since 1994, did FilmCom for 12 years. Probably did more to benefit the film and television and music communities in this city than any single thing ever has. None of those people have been contacted about any of this. In fact, the database used by this city from 1994 till about 2 years ago was Film Nashville's. Location scouting, look at artists, directors, producers, you name it. I would suggest that you give this a little more thought before you go down the same road that 7 past administrations have and just ended up wasting $100,000 and nothing ever gets done. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions for the mayor's office? Thanks for that good discussion. We appreciate all y'all are doing. Remember, there are wish list items, forms. If you have changes you want to make, this is the mechanism for doing it. Those are due on Thursday. Thank y'all so much from the mayor's office, and we'll now invite the finance office up. And that's on page D.